It had been originally been our intent just to come here, rise, say we support it, and sit back down. But there have been some events that require more of a response from us. There's an element that has grossly distorted our existing wages and benefits beyond even recognition. The public's being told that the Firefighters Pension Board somehow recently ran amok and without the knowledge of the city created some secret benefit that's bankrupting the city. That is so far from the truth that anybody repeating it should be ashamed of themselves, especially when they know better. In 1988, the city and the firefighters created the first deferred retirement option plan in the state of Florida. We were the absolute first. It allowed members to accumulate their own pension dollars in an individualized account within the pension fund, earning interest at a market rate of return. The question eventually arose, and there was no model to go by, but what happens at the end of a member's drop participation? What do you do with all that money? In those days, public sector employees did not have the same investment opportunities as private sector, and there were huge tax consequences for taking constructive receipt of that much money at one time. In the Pension Act itself, it stated that upon termination of employment, a member could receive his money in a lump sum as an annuity, or he quote, he may elect any other method of payment if approved by the Board of Trustees. Acting within what they believed was the authority granted to them by that phrase, the Board of Trustees elected to give retired drop members the payment option of leaving their money in the pension fund and being treated the same as an active member, thereby offering tax protections and the ability to earn additional interest. That's it. That one single decision occurred shortly after the drop was initially created, and the Board of Trustees has not taken a single action one way or the other in 20 years. Nothing. The drop retirees' ability to be treated like drop actives was inconsequential until 1999, when the union and the city agreed through collective bargaining to give members the ability to direct all or part of their drop monies into a fixed account with a guaranteed 8% of return. Or they could leave it in a variable account with a market rate of return. At the time, the pension fund had enjoyed a decade of double-digit earnings, so the trade-off for offering a guaranteed interest rate was that the pension fund would keep all the excess earnings and thus help reduce the city's contributions the following year. And what did the pension board do about it? Nothing. They kept administering the plan the exact same way they had the preceding 10 years in the exact same way that they would do the subsequent 10 years. They haven't done anything. For 20 years, the pension board's been perfectly consistent in treating drop retirees the same as drop actives. It was the city and the union that negotiated improvements to the related benefits, but the board had nothing whatsoever to do with it. Now the public has been asked to believe that, quote, no one knew this benefit was being paid, but the facts do not support that proposition. This is not any form of criticism of the current city administration, because frankly, in their defense, the critical events occurred before any members were in their current roles or positions. And I say critical events because in labor law, a benefit becomes legally defensible and binding if it exists over an extended period of time with the knowledge in either active or passive acceptance of management. An unwritten past practice can become just as legally binding as if it had been officially negotiated and published in a contract. Our pension board consists of 3 firefighters, the fire chief who serves as a representative of management, and a civilian appointee who serves as the representative of the commission. In or about 1988, when the payment option of treating drop retirees the same as drop actives was first implemented, it was done not just with the knowledge of the 2 city representatives, it was done with their active participation and full support. Since a total of 7 different men have represented the city as its agents during the 20 years that this payment option has been in place, it is ridiculous to suggest that no one in the city ever knew, because the city's own representatives participated in the process. I can accept that the current administration didn't know, because by the time they came along, it was just a routine matter of business. There was no reason any red flags would come up. But that doesn't diminish the legitimacy of the practice. In addition, the pension board files financial reports. Those payments, I'm not going to read all of this, but those payments showing no drop contribution, yet our members receiving interest earnings, are a matter of public record, filed every year, and for the last 15 years, those those earnings are demonstrated in the report with copies to the city. So if I don't have my money in the drop account, how am I earning interest? And finally, on a periodic basis, the pension board is required by law to publish a plan summary document, otherwise known as a PSD. In 1998, page 12 of the PSD read, and this is a quote, "When you terminate employment, your drop account balance may be payable to you at this time in a lump sum, or installments, which is an annuity, or you may wish to leave it in the account to earn interest." That's 1998. That's a published legal document. It doesn't get any plainer than that. So what do? The following year, we negotiate the 8% guarantee. So there is no credible way that anybody can claim that the city didn't know the ramifications of that benefit and that this is something that somehow mysteriously appeared. Now, had the pension board challenged, had the city challenged the pension board back in 1990 or 88, somebody might have listened. But 20 years after the fact, any ability that the city might have had to make any kind of appeal or challenge has long since waived and been forfeited.